everyone, welcome back to Biophilia, your all-time study mate. Today we are going to continue with the chapter Human Reproduction with its fifth part about oogenesis. If you like our videos and want us to help you reach out many more, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel Biophilia. Starting with a new process, a new beginning of a video that is about oogenesis. Oogenesis क्या होता है? Genesis word पिछली बार भी I told you that Genesis is going to regarding the formation. So whenever there is something forming, that is Genesis, and oo is going to be regarding the female gamete. Female gamete क्या होता है? About in the humans, it is going to be the oocyte. So formation of oocyte is nothing but the oogenesis. So the definition can be written as formation of mature female gamete, that is called as oocyte, is nothing but oogenesis. अब oogenesis जो होता है, it is going to begin in female even before they are born. यानी वो fetal life में भी oogenesis is going to start. Whereas if you compare it to the spermatogenesis that occurs in the male में spermatogenesis will start after the puberty. Okay, so one point you need to remember, that is in males, that is going to be the process that is called as spermatogenesis. So spermatogenesis के बारे में भी we have covered the video on this channel. You can go and click on the link in the description box and understand about the spermatogenesis. So spermatogenesis जो males में होगा, it is going to occur after puberty. Right, so this is the major difference that you need to understand between oogenesis and spermatogenesis, that is spermatogenesis occur after puberty, whereas oogenesis is going to occur in the fetal life, that is even before the female has been born. Right, so now let's understand this very beautiful process that occurs even before the birth of the female in detail. So fetal life में when there is fetal development, जब वो young girl अपने mother के womb में grow कर रही है, since then the formation of these oocytes is going to occur. So क्या होगा? सबसे पहले there is going to be a cell that is called as primordial germ cell. Now these primordial germ cells are nothing but going to act as stem cells. यानी ये cells अपने आप को differentiate करके these are going to form the oogonias. Right, once these are going to form oogonias, but ये primordial germ cells कहाँ से आएंगे? These are going to come with migration from the yolk sac of the ovary. So yolk sac, if you can see over here, the yolk sac is going to be this particular yellow colored part, that is going to be the yolk sac. अब ये yolk sac में से to the fetal ovary, the primordial germ cells are going to get migrated, और जब ये primordial germ cells migrate होंगे into the ovaries of the fetus, वो oogonia में differentiate करेंगे. Right, once the differentiation occurs, the next process is going to be to understand what are these oogonias. Oogonias जो होंगे, these are going to be diploid stem cells. Now since the primordial germ cells have differentiate किए थे, these are also going to be remain as stem cells which will divide mitotically divide करेंगे, यानी the diploid state is going to be persistent and that will form millions of germ cells. और mitotic division से so germ cells are also going to be diploid in condition. Now before the birth of the fetus, that is the female fetus के birth के पहले, there are going to be many millions of germ cells formed, but जब birth होगा, these most of the cells are going to degenerate. यानी जो cells form हुए थे वो directly the ovaries is going to absorb or degenerate हो जाएंगे, and that process by which these most of the germ cells get degenerated is called as follicular atresia. So if you can see in the photograph over here कि 4th-5th month of fetal life में there are going to be about 6 to 7 millions of oogonias, but at the 9th month, that is at the time of birth, what is going to happen? Only about 1 million of primary oocytes are going to be available. बाकी के जो difference है, these all are going to get degenerated because of the follicular atresia. Now after these जो remaining जो oocytes बचे हुए हैं, the oogoneas which are left out, these are going to further develop into larger cells, and these larger cells now will be called as primary oocyte. So हमने अभी तक कौन से stages cover कर लिए है. The first stage we covered, that was called as primordial germ cells. फिर हमने second stage की, that was about oogoneas, and now about the third stage, that is primary oocyte. Now primary oocyte is going to undergo the prophase of the meiosis 1. अब prophase of meiosis 1 जब करेगा, then it is going to be the oocyte, that is primary oocyte. Now after the fetal development, the prophase is not going to be completed. यानी जो primary oocyte था, primary oocyte जो है, it is going to be stuck, or it is going to arrest. यानी वो उसके आगे स्टेज पे नहीं जाएगा, and it will be stuck at the prophase of meiosis 1. So we saw that the oocyte, primary oocyte is going to undergo prophase of the meiosis 1, but वो वहाँ पे जाके क्या हो जाएगा, it will get arrested. The further development is not going to occur, and when it gets arrested, it is going to be surrounded by a single layer of flat follicular cells. अब वो arrested है, it is going to be like वो it is not going to be a live cell type, वो वहाँ पे arrest हो जाएगा, and arrest होने की वजह से there is going to be a covering, and this covering is about a single layer of granulosa cells or follicular cells, which is going to come from the germinal epithelium. अब germinal epithelium जो ovaries को बनाते हैं, the ovary is going to secrete this single layer of cells on the entire arrested primary oocyte. और जब वो oocyte के ऊपर, अभी समझो फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस रेड कलर डॉट इज गोइंग टू बी योर प्राइमरी oocyte. ओके, प्राइमरी oocyte के ऊपर जब वो कवरिंग आ जाएगी, दिस कवरिंग इज गोइंग टू बी ऑफ द ग्रैन्युलोसा सेल्स. द ग्रैन्युलोसा सेल्स का जब कवरिंग आ जाएगा फ्रॉम द जर्मिनल एपिथेलियम ऑफ ओवरी, द एंटायर स्ट्रक्चर नाउ इज गोइंग टू बी कॉल्ड एज प्राइमोर्डियल follicle. So primordial follicle fourth stage हो जाएगा, that we have studied, when the primary oocyte is going to get covered with a single layer of granulosa cells. अब granulosa cells पे जब वो cover हो जाएगा, until the puberty से लेकर up till the menopause. Menopause is when the menstrual cycle, or when the fertile period of the female is going to finish. Up till that time, the gonadotrophin hormone, जो gonadotrophin hormone जो GnRH, that is gonadotrophin hormone that comes from the hypothalamus. So gonadotrophin hormone is going to stimulate the development of the several primordial follicles. So ये जो primordial follicles जो बने थे, that was the oocyte covered in granulosa cells, उनका development will start until the time of puberty till the menopause. One by one these are going to get developed. और ये development के लिए signals, ये stimulation कौन देगा? It is going to be because of the GnRH stimulation for the FSH and LH. So FSH and LH जो pituitary gland, anterior pituitary से जो release होते हैं, that is follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, these two will get stimulated because of the GnRH, that is gonadotrophin releasing hormone. And once it gets the signals from FSH and LH, वो एक एक करके primordial follicles को develop करेंगे, and only one of them is going to reach up till the maturity. यानी एक साथ बहुत सारे primordial follicles are going to get, will undergo the development. So for example, if you want to understand, these are going to be our primordial follicles. These primordial follicles will actually undergo the stimulation, और वो आगे जाके develop करेंगे, they will undergo development, but the development will only be successful for one single this primordial follicle. एक ही primordial follicle आगे जाएगा, and it will develop into the next stage. Now once the single primordial follicle is going to be get developed, वो form करेगा into the primary follicle. प्राइमोर्डियल फॉलिकल से अब क्या बना है, इट इज गोइंग टू बिकम द प्राइमरी फॉलिकल। और प्राइमरी फॉलिकल जो है इट इज अगेन गोइंग टू गेट सराउंडेड बाय द फॉलिकुलर सेल्स या ग्रैनुलोसर सेल्स। वो अगेन बहुत सारे लेयर्स में it will get surrounded by the cuboidal and the columnar cells, and then these are going to be about 60,000 to 80,000 left इन द ईच ओवरी। यानी ये जब तक प्यूबर्टी तक पहुंचेगा द फीमेल चाइल्ड, till that time because of the follicular atresia only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are going to be left out in each ovary. Now this is the stage wherein the puberty is going to start, right? Primary follicle से puberty start होगी and every month one ovary is going to give chance for a single primordial follicle to develop into the next stage. अब next stage क्या होता है, it is going to be the secondary follicle. Secondary follicle जो है it is going to be the further stage after the primary follicle. तो जो outermost cells of granulosa cells जो थे which were secreted, these are going to rest on the basement membrane. So if you can see in the diagram as well, we are going to see the formation of secondary follicle from the primary follicle. So you can see the difference किसमें आया है, the layers of granulosa cells are going to increase and now there is going to be formation of theca folliculi. Theca folliculi is going to get formed around the basement membrane, और जैसे ही theca folliculi is going to be visible, you are going to call it a secondary follicle. So theca folliculi is significant for the formation of secondary follicle. अगर theca folliculi नहीं है, then you will call that stage as primary follicle. Now this secondary follicle is going to have the primary oocyte. This is very important. Primary follicle में भी primary oocyte होगा. That is जो हमने सबसे पहले बनाया था, दिस वॉज योर प्राइमरी oocyte जो अरेस्ट हुआ था इन द प्रोफेज ऑफ meiosis 1, and there was going to be covering of granulosa cells. The entire structure will be called as primary follicle. But now after this process जब वो theca follicular development होगा, the primary oocyte is going to remain the same in that same arrested prophase 1 stage. But अब क्या होगा, there is going to be increase in layers of granulosa cells. There will be theca cells. The theca follicular cells are going to come and be near the basement membrane, and that entire structure is going to be called as secondary follicle. So अंदर जो कवरिंग के अंदर जो साइट है, that is going to remain as the primary oocyte only because of the external coverings and the formation of theca folliculi. The primary follicle will turn into secondary follicle. So this difference should be very clear कि primary follicle में भी primary oocyte रहेगा, and even in secondary follicle the primary oocyte is going to be persistent. Now when the secondary follicle is going to develop into the tertiary follicle, 3 degree यानी क्या होता है, it is going to be the tertiary follicle. अब tertiary follicle को आप कैसे पहचानोगे, how will you understand that this is the characteristic of tertiary follicle? Then it is going to be because of the presence of a fluid filled cavity that is called as antrum. So antrum जब दिख जाएगा, the fluid filled cavity, the fluid is going to be called as liquor folliculi. So liquor folliculi से भरी हुई cavity that is antrum अगर दिख जाए, then it is going to be the stage that is tertiary follicle. And now this tertiary follicle is going to grow in size, and once it grow in size, जो theca folliculi था, the theca folliculi will now develop and arrange itself into 2 layers. कौन से 2 लेयर्स होंगे? फर्स्ट देयर विल बी द इंटरनल लेयर जिसको बोलेंगे थीका इंटरना, एंड द आउटर लेयर विल बी कॉल्ड एज थीका एक्सटर्ना. सो इफ यू कैन सी अप इन हियर द डायग्राम में, द ग्रीन कलर्ड पार्ट इज गोइंग टू बी रिप्रेजेंटेड फॉर द थीका इंटरना, whereas the grey colored part is going to be for the theca externa. So ये theca interna और externa both together previously were nothing but the theca folliculi. But theca folliculi, when it got arranged itself, it is going to be separated into inner and outer layers. Now after this separation or rearrangement occurs of the theca folliculi, the primary oocyte जो अंदर कैद था in this entire coverings of the theca interna externa granulosa cells, सबके बीच में जो ये बेचारा छोटा सा oocyte जो फंस चुका था, the oocyte which was the primary oocyte which was arrested in the prophase state, वो अपना स्टेज कंप्लीट करेगा, दैट इज इट विल गोइंग टू कंप्लीट द फर्स्ट meiotic divisions. So as per your 12th class you know that meiotic divisions जो होंगे वो दो phases में complete होंगे, the first phase that is first meiotic division and the second meiotic division. So after the tertiary follicle is going to develop, the primary oocyte जो अंदर कैद था that is going to complete its first meiotic division at the stage of puberty, and once it completes the first meiotic divisions it is going to form a new structure that is secondary oocyte and the first polar body. अब यहाँ पे you have to very well remember that in general cases, right, if we are discussing about the general cases, क्या होता है जब एक सेल होता है when it undergoes meiosis 1, राइट, वंस इट गोज इनटू मियोसिस वो दो सेम साइज के cells produce करेगा, right, it is going to produce the same sized cells. But in the case of the female gamete, that is once the primary oocyte is undergoing the meiosis, it is going to form two different sized cells. जो एक सेल होगा which is going to be normal size, that is going to be the secondary oocyte, बट एक उसके साथ एक छोटा सा भी स्ट्रक्चर डेवलप होगा, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी कॉल्ड एज द पोलर बॉडी. सो दैट इज गोइंग टू बी कॉल्ड एज द फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी बिकॉज वो फॉर्म कब हुआ है, फॉर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ फर्स्ट meiotic division. So first meiotic division जो puberty पे होगा, now it will be signifying the formation of secondary oocyte and the first polar body. वो polar body भी simultaneously वहाँ पे होगा, but later on it will be thrown out of the near of the secondary oocyte. अब आपको क्या याद रखना है, प्राइमरी oocyte जो अंदर कैद था उसका डिवीजन कंप्लीट हो चुका है और अब वो क्या बन चुका है, नाउ इट हैज बिकम द सेकेंडरी oocyte which is trapped inside the tertiary follicle. Now the tertiary follicle will change and develop into the Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle is also called as mature follicle. Now this mature follicle, because उसके अंदर जो secondary oocyte है, that secondary oocyte is a mature oocyte. Mature oocyte यानी किसकी बात कर रहे हैं, we are speaking about the secondary oocyte. So secondary oocyte which is going to be the mature oocyte is going to adhere to the wall of follicle. यानी जो ग्राफियन फॉलिकल है which is the entire structure that is with the presence of secondary oocyte and the coverings, that is जो जो follicular cells है, all those layers and the secondary oocyte is going to be the Graafian follicle. But now the secondary oocyte will come and attach to the walls with the help of cumulus oophorus. So cumulus oophorus जो cells होंगे उसकी वजह से it will remain suspended in the liquor folliculi, that was the fluid in the antrum, और antrum भी होगा, it will get enlarged, वो बहुत बड़ी हो जाएगी and it will cover most of the place in the Graafian follicle. So if you can see in the diagrams over here, as the developing follicle goes to reach up till the mature follicle, difference majorly कहाँ नजर आएगा, the difference will be majorly seen in the antrum. So if you can notice, the antrum over here is quite large with compared to the previous location, or when the mature follicle form होगा, the antrum is going to get enlarged up till the maximum possible length. So antrum बड़ा हो जाएगा, cumulus oophorus formation will occur. So if you want to see about the cumulus oophorus, you can see in the lower diagram, the cells of the yellow color are going to be the cells of cumulus oophorus जो secondary oocyte को help करेंगे to attach to the Graafian follicle with the help of cumulus oophorus. Now when the secondary oocyte is going to be attached to the follicular membrane, वो अपने आप के आसपास और एक covering develop करेगा, and this covering, the new membrane, is going to be called as the zona pellucida. What is it called as? It is called as zona pellucida, which is going to be covered by the cumulus oophorus. Yani for example, the red spot is going to be called as a secondary oocyte, right? The secondary oocyte, और हमें पता है that there is going to be cumulus oophorus that is going to be surrounded over here, which is going to help for the attachment to the follicular membrane. So ये cumulus oophorus है, not writing completely, just for your understanding, green part is the cumulus oophorus. अब cumulus oophorus और secondary oocyte के बीच में there is going to be a secretion of a new layer, and that new layer is nothing but called as zona pellucida, right? वो किसके बीच में होगा? It will be forming between the cumulus oophorus and the secondary oocyte. उसके बीच में ये new layer form होगी, and this zona pellucida is going to be secreted by the oocyte itself, and the secretion now with the cumulus oophorus and the zona pellucida वो एक दूसरे को merge कर लेंगे, and once they get merged, that is zona pellucida and cumulus oophorus, when comes together you are going to call it as corona radiata. Okay, this is a very important point. यानी पहले क्या होगा? There is going to be cumulus oophorus that is going to be helping in attachment, और जैसे ही वो form हो जाएगा, now the secondary oocyte is going to form the zona pellucida, and zona pellucida along with cumulus oophorus is going to be called as corona radiata. Now अभी क्या पता है finally? That the secondary oocyte is going to be covered by the corona radiata cells, right? Now, with the presence of the LH hormone, that is luteinizing hormone, the Graafian follicle is going to rupture. यानी अभी इतना बड़ा structure हो जाता है. Now it is the time that because of the hormonal activity, the Graafian follicle, the mature follicle, is going to rupture, and it will release the secondary oocyte from those membranes that were arresting the movement of this secondary oocyte. अब वो release हो जाएगा from the ovary with the process that is called as ovulation. So ovulation is nothing but the release of secondary oocyte from the ovary, and once this ovulation occurs, the secondary oocyte will be called as a mature ovum. Secondary oocyte जो सारे coverings से बाहर आ चुका है, it is the mature ovum, and this mature ovum, once it comes out of the ovary, it is going to get traveled from the fallopian tube. वो fallopian tube में travel करेगा, and it will wait for the sperm to go under fertilization. क्योंकि naturally what needs to happen, the every secondary ovum that is released is in search of the sperm for fertilization. Now it depends on the female body that whether it is providing the sperms or not. अगर वो sperms provided है when the mature ovum is there in the fallopian tube, then the fertilization will occur. But अगर वहाँ पे sperms नहीं मिलेंगे, then the secondary oocyte will come down up till the uterus, and then the next process that occurs we will discuss in detail in the next few lectures of this chapter. But for now what you need to remember is secondary oocyte जब ovulation से ovary से बाहर आएगा, it will move into the fallopian tubes, and it will wait there, it will travel in the search of sperm to get fertilized. Now after the secondary oocyte is released, अब क्या होगा? जो बाहर के जो coverings बचे हुए थे, all those Graafian follicles जो remaining था, now the remaining coverings are going to turn into the new structure that is corpus luteum. यानी वो जो भी coverings थे जिसमें से ये secondary oocyte बाहर आया है, the corpus luteum or the yellow body formation will take place, and once the corpus luteum has been formed, it is going to act as a temporary endocrine gland. So temporary because after some time even this corpus luteum is going to get degenerated, so that is the reason it is called as temporary. An endocrine gland because it is going to secrete a large amounts of hormones that are progesterone and a small amount of estrogen. So बहुत सारा progesterone, कुछ amount में estrogen is going to be released by this corpus luteum, and these hormones, that is the female hormones, that is progesterone and estrogen, are going to help in the establishment and the maintenance of the pregnancy. यानी अगर fertilization हो जाता है in the fallopian tube, then by nature's grace वो पहले से ही pre-prepared रहेंगे that if the fertilization occurs, then these hormones which are released from the corpus luteum will help in the establishment and implantation में help करेंगे, and even throughout the gestation period, that is maintenance of the pregnancy, these hormones are going to be helpful. तो वो fertilization होगा and then they will start producing hormones? No, that is not the case of nature. It will be pre-planning its events so that even if the fertilization occurs or it does not occur, the progesterone and estrogen will be released from the corpus luteum. Now वो बस act तभी करेंगे when the fertilization is going to occur successfully. If it does not occur, then what are the conditions? That will be seen in the next video of this chapter. But for now, you have to remember that corpus luteum is going to be the temporary endocrine gland जो form होगा after the secondary oocyte has been released out. Now once the fertilization is unsuccessful, यानी वो जो secondary oocyte, the mature ovum did not meet the sperms and it has come down, and after some days, वो कुछ ही दिन के लिए corpus luteum is going to be viable, it is going to be surviving. After some time, it will stop secreting the progesterone and it will get degenerated almost about 10 days later. So after the formation, उसकी life कितनी है? The life is going to be for 10 days approximately, and after 10 days it will degenerate and a new structure will be formed that is going to be called as corpus albicans or corpus candicans or atratic luteum, which is nothing but the white body. अब ये corpus albicans जो होता है, it is going to be broken down with the help of the macrophages and the fibroblasts which are going to be freely moving into the blood. वो आके ये corpus albicans को degenerate करेंगे, it will break down and they will finally remain as just a scar on the ovary. So it will be seen as a mass of fibrous tissue left on the ovary. So if you can see of this histology slide, then the white area that you can see is going to be the mass of fibrous tissue. So after the degeneration by the process of luteolysis, this is going to be the condition कि वो सिर्फ एक white color के spot जैसे ovary पे visible होगा, and the corpus luteum, which has a life of about 10 days, after 10 days it will degenerate, and after degeneration corpus albicans banega, which is called as the white body, and the white body will also get broken down by the process of luteolysis, और फिर वो just एक scar के जैसे रह जाएगा on the ovaries walls. So over here we are going to see the entire process of ovarian cycle in short. So सबसे पहले क्या होगा? There is going to be the oogonias which are going to come, and the time of puberty ये oogonias होंगे about 60,000 to 80,000 in each ovaries. अब ये ओगोनियाज जो होंगे ये ओवेरियन स्ट्रोमा के आसपास इर्द गिर्द होंगे, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ द हार्मोनल एक्टिविटीज दैट इज GnRH विल स्टिमुलेट द रिलीज ऑफ FSH एंड LH, उसकी वजह से वन ऑफ द oogonia is going to successfully complete its development into the primordial follicle. Once the primordial follicle is going to be formed, which is going to have the follicular cells which are going to get arranged around itself. So follicular cells जब एक दूसरे के आसपास they will form. After that there is going to be the formation of primary follicle. A primary follicle में what is going to be the major characteristic जिसकी वजह से आप पहचान सकते हो? That is going to be the formation or presence of theca folliculi. So theca folliculi presence, that is shown in light green color. Light green color में theca folliculi is going to signify the presence of primary follicle, and even the granulosa cells that are shown in orange color are going to increase in their layers. Primordial follicle में एक layers में होगा single layer, whereas in primary follicle it can develop into 2 to 3 layers. After the primary follicle again develops, it is going to form the secondary follicle. अब secondary follicle में there is going to be a formation of antrum, which is going to be a fluid filled cavity, और fluid filled cavity जैसे develop होगी in the granulosa cells, there is going to be the differentiation or rearrangement of the theca folliculi. Theca folliculi जो यहाँ पे green में है, it is going to get arranged around the granulosa cells into two layers. The red one, which is going to be called as theca externa, and the blue one is going to be called as theca interna. अब जैसे ही ये theca externa और interna develop होंगे, they will get arranged. The primary oocyte, which was in the primary follicle, now it is going to get divided and form the secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte with the secondary follicle is going to be forming the tertiary follicle, and tertiary follicle will be having zona pellucida formation. Zona pellucida form होगा because of the secretion of the secondary oocyte. There is going to be presence of cumulus oophorus, and cumulus oophorus along with zona pellucida is going to be called as corona radiata. Right, so the yellow colored and the light green colored together will be called as corona radiata. Now, once the tertiary follicle has been signified by the enlarged antrum, the Graafian follicle will occur, or Graafian follicle say the secondary oocyte is going to be released by the process called as ovulation. So ovulation से जब ये secondary oocyte release हो जाएगा with the intact of corona radiata and the zona pellucida, वो intact रहेंगे. Only the Graafian follicle layers from the granulosa cells are going to get detached, and now the secondary oocyte will be released to go into the fallopian tubes. So fallopian tubes में it is going to go in search of fertilization, and the remaining Graafian follicle is going to turn into corpus luteum. Corpus luteum जो होगा, it is going to be the yellow body. It is going to secrete the large amounts of progesterone and small amounts of estrogen. उसकी वजह से the establishment and the maintenance of pregnancy is going to occur, and after the short period of 10 days, even this corpus luteum, the temporary endocrine gland, is going to get degenerated because of the macrophages and the fibroblasts into the next structure, that is corpus albicans. So corpus albicans में जब ये white body differentiate हो जाएंगी, even this corpus albicans will now be degenerated, or it will be degraded because of the luteolysis process, and it will remain just as a scar on the white fibrous tissue जैसा ovary के ऊपर ये नजर आएगा. So that was the entire summary of the video, that is starting from the oogonias up till the formation of secondary oocyte or the mature ovum, and on the other side, that is the cycle of corpus albicans. So I hope this was a little summary that helped you to understand in the entire process that occurs in oogenesis in one go. So if you like this, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Biophilia. We will come back with the next part of this video where you will understand about the menstrual cycle that occurs in females. Till then, stay connected to Biophilia, like, share and subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified for the upcoming video. Till then, keep studying, stay safe, bye bye, thank you.